morning to all of you, ladies and gentlemen. Am I audible? Okay, aapko to. Mr. Pradeep Gupta, his team, so many distinguished guests who are present in this hall. It is my honor and privilege to be present here amongst you for this event, which I believe is the 29th, and which is so closely related to the last assignment I held in the Government of India as Secretary Telecommunications. I must also thank Mr. Pradeep Gupta for inviting me, because this gives me an opportunity to touch base and to interface with so many friends in this industry who, like all of us, get simply so busy in the daily routine that till you are in the office, there is an interaction, and thereafter it becomes difficult for all of us. I congratulate the awardees whose names were shared with me, and I believe the awards will be given by the request later in the afternoon. I think it's a wonderful selection, and each person has excelled in the respective area for which he or she has been chosen for the award. I believe you've had an interesting previous session with my senior colleague, Dr. R.S. Sharma, who has done so much for this sector, and he was having a discussion with another stalwart of the industry, so I'm sure it must have been very, very interesting. Post-COVID, this is my first formal, post-COVID I mean after the restrictions have been lifted. Of course, we all attend weddings and other functions, but formal functions have not really been organized, and I congratulate you for doing this. In fact, I discussed with Mr. Pradeep Gupta that you must have an actual physical function. Virtual is nice, it's wonderful, saves time, and also the focus on face becomes even better. So the camera catches even the smallest of grin or grimace or whatever you want to say. But a physical interaction has its own advantages, and I quite...
So being live streamed.
Okay, so that's even better. So it gives an option like that. Okay, thank you. The theme about the technology and transformation and the next generation technology. Generation, next generation, these are concepts which are not static. For any country, any society, there must be something which is treated as next generation, there is something which is this generation. Interspatially, intertemporally, these things will change. So it's dynamic. But broadly, yes, when we are talking of the next generation technologies, we are talking of 5G technologies and the related aspects of artificial intelligence, IoT, and blockchain, and the entire stack of technology which is now perhaps being captured in the digital communication revolution, because digital communication becomes a base, the vehicle on which all technology and technology applications will run and are running. that we have to adopt and adapt and transform ourselves to meet the opportunities or to encash the opportunities and meet the challenges of new technologies, any new technology. That is in a way a no-brainer. Yes, we have to do it. If we don't, we will not survive, we will lag behind, we will ultimately die and be forgotten. Some small speck of history we will become as a company, as an industry, as a nation, as humanity. So yes, that is something we all understand that we have to do it. The question is how, when, timing, speed, and what needs to be done so that this actually happens. Any new technology has to be seen by industry in terms of what needs of customers can be satisfied. And needs need not be felt needs. Anybody, and I'm sure all of you must be so familiar with marketing, would appreciate that consumer never even realizes what needs he or she has till somebody tells him that, okay, this is your need. I can't imagine now anybody in this room being able to sleep without an air conditioner. I can't imagine anybody in this room being without a mobile telephone or without internet connectivity. We can't imagine people who can be walking barefoot unless they choose to do so. We would expect they would be having slippers. But these needs were told to the consumers, the needs are there. And that is the job of the entrepreneur. So, point which I'm trying to make is, technology, yes. Transformation, yes. But the key is entrepreneurship. Because unless the entrepreneur realizes, understands, and seizes the opportunities, it would be impossible for the entrepreneur and his company. And when we summate the macro picture of the industry, to really transform, it's impossible. So that is a key aspect which must be kept in mind and must be encouraged by the society, by government in particular. And when Mr. Pradeep Gupta is talking of 40 unicorns this year and total next 3 years, we are doing quite well, it's so heartening. Of course, there's always a worry that, okay, it's going up and should not bust, and it should not happen that right now valuations are becoming high and we are coming into that unicorn era and then something happens. So that is where entrepreneurship, constant endeavor to upgrade, to become better, to avail of the opportunities which can be created from what the new technology offers, that has to be done all the time. And that is a competitive process. Only the best will win. And only the best should win. So that is what will happen. One common theme for all applications and new technology appears to be speed, instant, immediate. We want things fast. We may have started with instant coffee, instant soup, instant noodles, instant food, instant cricket in a way. I was used to 5-day cricket when I was in school, college, and now we can't wait for 5 days. We want things immediately. Instant messaging. E-commerce, the deadline of 10-minute delivery, 8-minute delivery, 7-minute delivery, fast. Everything should be done immediately. And communication. This brings focus to one of the key aspects of digital communications, which is now being enabled through 5G technology, which is characterized by more speed, more capacity, and more reliability vis-a-vis 4G and its parent and or older generation technologies. But what I want to underline, technology will only succeed if we have the infrastructure to support the technology. Believe me, 5G will not succeed till we have the infrastructure for 5G. And the infrastructure for 5G cannot be created by 4 operators alone. It's impossible. There are so many stakeholders, and it is part of the political process. State governments, municipalities, panchayats, households. If nobody wants a mobile tower in their backyard or on their terrace, how will the signals come? I now stay in Defence Colony, and I can tell you, when I see Balaji here, I don't see representatives from Airtel or maybe there are some and BSNL and Jio. Pathetic connectivity, the best colonies. So then I have to use all my leverage and all my strength and all my connections. कि भैया मेरे घर में तो ठीक कर दो. So, and this is despite their best intention. Mobile companies will not like to lose customers. They like to give service. But what can they do if the infrastructure for connectivity is absent? So what will 5G do if we do not have sufficient number of towers which are required? Because as we all know, the 5G frequencies, they travel at distances which are much shorter. So you need capacity, you also need coverage. Where will you get it? I believe that the only way of success in this is when the political class, any party, I'm not talking of any color, becomes an equal stakeholder in this. आज अगर किसी कॉलोनी के अंदर पानी नहीं आता, they will not vote for that person again. अगर सड़क खराब है, दिल से सड़क को रिपेयर करो तब हम वोट देंगे. I can visualize a situation where people will say, in our colony, unless you give us proper internet connectivity, we are not going to vote for you again. And once this happens, then a basic need which is emerging so fast will become also a part of our entire process of democracy, and things will be easier, affordable, doable. I think that's very, very critical. So technology and infrastructure must move together. That is my second point. The first one was about entrepreneurship. It's so important. Digital communications has become all pervasive. Some may say it has become all invasive also. It touches every part of our life. What we think, how we interact, which marketplace we decide to go, what is going to be mode of shopping, who we will like, who we will dislike. The entire social media debate. So the impact is huge. Potentially, it is the digital communication media which will ultimately decide on how people actually vote. Because that is how their mind will be conditioned, what they will see. In this context, it is very important that the potential of the technology is reaped in a very responsible way. Otherwise, there will be hurdles, there will be roadblocks. So the industry leaders would do well that they have their own code of ethics, which may be more than what the law provides. I was happy to read in the paper today a statement by MOS IT about a self-imposed code, which they say if happens is very good. I think it's a good idea, and industry should look at it. In the infrastructure aspect, I must flag the Gati Shakti initiative of the current government of India. I think that's very, very critical. I was present in a few presentations which were made at that time to the Honorable Prime Minister by my other colleagues. And his vision on this was very clear. I said he remembered a house where the whole house was built but there was no staircase. So he said, what's the point? I mean, how can you reach the first floor and the second floor if there's no staircase? I mean, this is common sense. But yet people do these mistakes. A road will be constructed, beautiful, smooth road, without provisions for connectivity of internet or a water pipeline. And then that beautiful road will be dug again. In Delhi, we all have witnessed one agency digs, completes the work, then another agency comes, they start digging. So all the year around, for maybe 9 months out of 12 months, the road is being repaired. So Gati Shakti, the scheme which will help and marry technology and infrastructure by facilitating that infrastructure is created at one go so that all can benefit and things become faster. A word about government and industry. In telecom, and Balaji will probably grin, I always had to face requests from industry that please do this, please do this, please do this. Genuine, legitimate requests, nothing wrong with that. Whereas if you talk to somebody from government, they'll always say, look, we are doing so much, industry is not responding. This is a perennial kind of a problem. In my view, industry and government has a permanent marriage, a permanent relationship. There's no divorce. And they have to live with each other. They have to thrive. And there is a symbiotic relationship. One cannot do without the other. It's impossible. The government has to be a facilitator. It has to be an enabler. It has to provide a level playing field. But it is the industry which has to then rise to the occasion in terms of enterprise, entrepreneurship, investments, getting technology. And technology is not something you go to the bazaar and you say, okay, give me 5 kgs of technology. You have to find applications for technology and make those applications in a manner that the consumer or whoever the customer is realizes the need that, oh, this can also happen. And it is given to him or her at affordable prices with good service levels. This is the circle which has to be navigated. So government will have its role, so will industry, and they must work together. I'm not talking about the civil society, I'm not talking about regulators, I'm taking government as a general term, industry as a general term. Fourth thing, I hope I'm not exceeding my time. It's okay, 5-7 minutes more. Okay. we must be ahead or at least keep with the technology curve. Unfortunately, we always lag behind. UPI framework, etc. you mentioned, that's very good. But you look at our mobile sector, mobile phone sector. What happened in the world and when did we adopt it in India? There's always a time lag. It's been reducing, and 5G has been an opportunity where we can do it faster. But now we really need to roll out the network. I'm happy that it's being done this year. Because otherwise, again, it will be the same story. We lag behind. The security aspects of digital communications technology will always be an issue. We must find solutions. Some things have been done, but I think this will need to be addressed always. So when we transform to adopt new technology, we will have to factor this important aspect in our entire frame of what we're going to do. Privacy debate I have already flagged, so I will not waste time on that. But this again is going to be a major issue of adopting new technology. Citizens are going to become more conscious of their rights. They will be more guarded about what they should share and what they should not share. There's bound to be more litigation. There's bound to be more suits. There's bound to be court intervention, regulation. So we will do well if we set our norms which are responsible and which do not lead to a situation where there's an anti-reaction to what the new technology should do. So this is again, because such reactions then would be setbacks, which we should not allow to happen. The entire value chain, when you talk of technology stack, in India we have parts of it we don't. And with the geopolitical situation, we always have a problem. So the Atmanirbharta, which I interpret as self-reliance, not self-sufficiency. Self-reliance, that we should have the capacity to do it. Whether we actually do it or not would depend on the comparative advantage of what it takes to produce what where. After all, entire international trade is based on comparative advantage. It is not that we are all in autarky and each country will have their own island and do everything on their own. No. It's not an efficient way of utilization of resources. Any economist will tell you. But then, efficiency has to be seen vis-a-vis other aspects of security, of long-term implications. So there has to be a trade-off, there has to be a balance. So this aspect has to be again seen in our journey of transformation. And a lot of new schemes have been now introduced by MeitY, also by Telecom and other departments. We need to work on this quickly and fast, efficiently. Affordability aspect I've already said. Benefits of technology should flow to people at affordable prices. Otherwise, it will be with select people in select islands, not very good situation. Technology transformation must generate employment because new technology sometimes displaces employment. One person rendered unemployed should at least turn into 3 jobs. Unless that happens, there's going to be social unrest. And there'll be then hurdles to new technology. What happens where, we don't know. In a heated system, some link will break somewhere. But employment is key in a labor, I won't call surplus, but labor sufficient economy like India. Human capital and R&D. These are 2 aspects which again are very important. I am focusing on macro terms. Human capital, yes, we need to invest in human capital. And R&D, yes, we can't keep on just emulating and copying. We need to stand on our own feet. So, R&D investment is required, which requires deeper pockets. Maybe government can help. But then we have to work around this problem and solve it. health and environment are two areas which are again going to cause a lot of problem. With usage of mobile, people are having all kinds of health problems, not due to the mobile phone, but due to the posture. Usage of computer, bending, with all kinds of problems at young ages. Addiction to a particular use. I have mentioned this earlier when I was in health, as she read for a long time. Nimhans, Bangalore, way back in 2016, started a de-addiction program for mobiles. People were actually having medical symptoms if they didn't have their mobiles with them. And so these are aspects you have to see. And environment. All of us, as we grow richer, wealthier, are going to become more conscious of our health and our environment. So as entrepreneurs and industry, when we are transforming for the next generation technology, we must keep in mind the impact on health and environment and take steps that mitigation is done at the threshold, at the very incipient stage. CSR then becomes corporate social responsibility, and this I'm talking not of individual corporations, of industry as a whole becomes very critical, because many of these things which I've said get covered in CSR, which does not mean I start a hospital somewhere, I educate 10 students, give clothes to, not that, or एक park लगा दिया उसमें झूले लगा, not that. These are very minor things. CSR, according to me, should focus at fundamental issues which impact the interface of industry with the society. That aspect must be taken care of. And it is a question of perception. You may be doing your best, but society may not perceive so. So perception building is critical, which needs some investment in terms of thinking and time, so that all stakeholders, especially our customers, are with us. And they understand what we are doing. They appreciate what we are doing. And then they become our ambassadors to say, no, what is being done is right. Which intrinsically should be right. एक झूठ को 100 बार झूठ बोल के सच नहीं कर सकते. सच तो नहीं पड़ेगा. पर वो सच को लोग सच समझें. सच को झूठ ना समझें. ये परसेप्शन है. ये हमको देखना पड़ेगा. Reform, Mr. Gupta you talk of telecom reform. Okay, it was something which happened in my time, but it's an ongoing process. It's dynamic. It's not a one-time thing. Any sector has to grow, and while growing, it has to reform. Reform means change. Industry also has to change. A lot of challenges are there, but this is an ongoing thing in all sectors, in all economies, in all processes. So what should be changed for the good should be changed, but you cannot at times do things which disturb the status quo because there's so much of value attached to different things. So there are issues, but this is an ongoing thing, and I'm sure my successors and the current team, industry, they're doing a good job, and many things they are taking forward. But industry must rise to take advantage of reforms. If it doesn't, then it becomes a futile exercise. So I have raised, Mr. Gupta, a number of issues which we, and when we say we're talking of industry right now, need to address while we strive, which we have to survive, to transform our entire process, thinking, company, parameters, vision, while adopting the next generation technologies, which we know and new opportunities will emerge. And our mind should always think laterally to be able to visualize opportunities and encash them. So thank you very much for your patient hearing, and I think I've exceeded my time. Thank you.
Sir, there is one question which has come from audience. I know it's a keynote, but if you do not mind, I'll just... what is your view on the satellites, whether satellites can play a critical role in providing ubiquitous connectivity and bridge the digital divide?
Okay. I see one person who's not a satellite operator sitting here. Any satellite related person here in this audience? You are representing? Okay, and you? Same, okay. See, I think the digital communication ecosystem has to have place for wireless, wireline, and now the satellite communication. All these three together constitute the ecosystem. Now, satellite communication essentially, and this is based on my discussion with industry leaders, is more expensive and it is going to impact in terms of reaching areas which are unreached. Remote islands, some vessel on the sea, desert areas. Unless the price at which the offering is made falls so much that it can compete with what by our normal mobile wireless communication is being offered by our mobile players. Giving at those pricing appears to be a challenge because there's certain equipment and etc. which is required, which is very high, and then there are going to be numbers. Now, if this space is there, which is there, how large is it to accommodate how many players is the key question. Because what one has been seeing and reading, India as a market is attracting a lot of satellite communication players. So that is something we will have to see how it rolls out. But according to me, there will have to be synergy between wireless, wireline and satellite. And wireless, wireline is very clear because mobile wireless communication cannot function unless you have you have backhaul. And backhaul which you can actually give by wireline is much, much higher than what you can give otherwise, though we are talking of various bands of spectrum which can be used for backhaul. Yes, that is true. But then there are issues of climate and distance. That can also happen. And then there are certain hurdles about the pricing and whether they should be auctioned, they should not be auctioned, which are legacy issues, which cannot be just, decided by a stroke decision on file. I doubt they cannot be because there are Supreme Court orders and things like that. So to sum up, satellite communication based connectivity has certainly its place in our ecosystem of communication. I don't think it will be so large that it will be a threat to either wireline or to mobile wireless communication. I don't think so. And it has its advantages. And I think most companies will end up having a system where they have ownership or interest or partnership in all of them. And that is how they'll be able to give best service to the customer.
Thank you very much. You talked about this evening's award function, but I would just like to share with all of you that Voice and Data also does its awards, which were done in the month of March. And that was a virtual event that we had done. And we had the Telecom Person of the Year. And that Person of the Year award had gone to Mr. Anshu Prakash. And, let me also state the reasons why. Because in his tenure, there were some very, very major changes in the entire telecom structure, structural changes which were brought about in the telecom sector. The industry had been really reeling under serious financial issues, needed restructuring to be done, and some very, very bold decisions to be taken there. The entire AGR issue had to be addressed, that how, the industry can get breathing time. And so, while the issues had been there for almost about 1.5 decades, but nobody was able to take very bold decisions, but the political leadership and the bureaucratic leadership under Mr. Anshu Prakash took those decisions, restructured the entire AGR, ensured that the sector did not become a duopoly, and the reverse thing which happened after a very, very long time in India, where a private company gave stake to the government. So these were some very fundamental decisions which were taken, and that is why Mr. Anshu Prakash was the Telecom Person of the Year. So, sir, at that time it was a virtual function, but today we would just like to personally hand over physically the trophy also to you.